Hey folks, Joe on Look Survival. So today we're going to talk about a shelter that you can build with minimal tools or no tools and definitely no cordage and using nature around you to complete this. Stick around. Go. Alright folks, so the shelter we've been working on today is going to be the snow trench. Now that is not my number one go-to emergency shelter, but if you don't have any, say, tarps or tents or, say, cutting tools that are going to really matter in the wintertime, say like a hatchet for example, and you don't have a lot of building material around you, say that it's very sparse with the trees, obviously not here, but say that in your environment it is, the snow is going to be the best building material you have available to you. So snow trench is probably going to be your number one go-to in that situation. So I'm going to pick a spot out here that's deep enough, and I'm going to explain how to build this thing. Alright guys, so first things first, you're probably wondering how are we going to dig this snow trench out. We don't want to use our gloves because we're going to get our gloves wet, which isn't going to do us any good. If you're out, say, hunting, hiking, fishing, whatever it may be, perhaps maybe you have a collapsible snow shovel with you, maybe, or you can use your snowshoe in this case. Use the heel of your snowshoe as a makeshift shovel. We're going to make this snow trench a foot longer than we are tall, so I'm 5'8", so let's just say 6 foot for argument's sake. We're going to make this 7 foot long, right? So I can either measure this out with the snow shovel, or snowshoe, excuse me, because I know this is roughly 36 inches, or I can sit there and just kind of guesstimate, whichever. We're going to measure real quick. So at the base of the camera, we'll actually move forward a little bit. There's one. And be careful where you're stepping too, because you don't want to ruin where your trench is going to be. So 1, 2, and the wide girth, 3, and say 4 just for giggles. Now, how deep is this? That'll work. That'll work. That'll work. And that should work. So we know it's deep enough and it's going to be long enough. How wide should we do this? I like to go shoulder width and a half. Kind of give you some wiggle room in there. So again, I'm going to use this. It's kind of a measuring tool. And kind of go 2/3, maybe a whole snowshoe. So now I'm going to cut this out of the snow, or dig this out with a snow shovel. So being very careful, what I like to do is just take one big step, get in the middle of my trench. It's very common sense. Just take it, light scoops, pile it up on the outside. That way you're also building a wall over here where your head's at. Now how deep you want this to go is deep enough so you're out of the wind, you're out of the elements, okay? Alright guys, so we got this dug out. It's pretty good. Definitely will shield me from the wind. You guys can see I try to get down the forest floor because less snow, less chance water's gonna melt because your body heat. So now we're gonna get some pine boughs for our installation. Alright folks, so when you come to in this case, balsam fir, do yourself a favor. I know it's common sense, but grab some branches here and shake them off first. So when you go to collect these branches, you're not getting covered in snow, thus getting you wet. That's the first thing. Plus, it rids all the snow that would be off the branches that we're going to be laying on. So, kind of twofold, really. Now, to shear these off is really easy. You can go to the main branch or the secondary branch, whichever's thinner. You're going to push in and up, and they shear right off. In and up. In and up. Like so. And you collect a bunch of these in no time with no tools. Alright folks, so an important lesson for those who don't know or don't really deal with snow very often. If you don't want all of that coming crashing down on you when you get branches, say from a balsam fir or any kind of tree that has snow load on the branches, take a saw instead of a hatchet, we're trying to break it off, and gently cut it. It's just kind of an awkward angle for me. Gently cut it. That way, more than likely, snow above you won't be disturbed. Instead of, say, grabbing this branch and trying to, oh, I should get my hood on first. Instead of grabbing a branch and trying to wrestle it off like this, you know, like that, all the snow could possibly come down on top of you. So, there's that. Alright folks, so when we gather enough pine boughs for bedding, we want to walk in from our entrance point and compress it. See if we have enough material. Now again, I know from the tip of my middle finger down the bottom of my wrist is roughly 7 inches. I got about 6 inches of compressed insulation beneath me. Okay, I probably want at least 8 in this situation because I'm sleeping on the cold ground. But 6 to 8 inches is going to be pretty good. Now 7 inches is kind of half medium, obviously. But you also want to make sure, okay, is this long enough? Is this deep enough for me to lay down with a structure as a roof over top me? Then we kind of sit there and adjust what we got to do. Alright, so guys, laying down in there, and this is why you test your compressed bedding in the first place, is you want to make sure that your shoulder is lower than this wall. Mine doesn't seem to be. So, take my snowshoes, unless you lost one, they come in pairs. So you got to take them, and you're going to kind of sandwich the snow, creating a compressed wall. It's going to help stabilize your roof when we put it on. Like so. Alright, so here we are again with the tricks. 1, 2. 2 tarps, guys. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a lifesaver. So, get the Mylar back tarp here. You see? Got the wet weather tarp here. I'm going to use this as a bedroll, essentially. Roll this out. Try and keep as much snow off of it as possible, obviously. And really, you'd want to do this with the roof on. I just want to show it because this is an easier way to show it than actually like trying to get the camera in there and whatnot. But have your roof on if you can. Roll this out. That way, you have a waterproof barrier underneath you. So if there's snow melting because your body heat underneath the pine boughs along the wall, where it's going to be, it's not going to get you wet while you lay there. Now, this I'm going to wrap up in like a simple blanket. Okay? That's what that's for. Now I'm going to get the roofing material, throw it on. Alright guys, say that you didn't have enough snow to raise the walls. Or some reason, somehow, you didn't want to. You could always do the good old Y stick and straight stick, and put a straight stick along the way, make it more of a pitched roof if you wanted to, kind of like an A-frame. Or, if you have these available in your area, try to find a curved stick of some kind. This is from an eastern white pine. Obviously been dead for a while, but it should work for this purpose. And you want the curved sticks. That way, it gives somewhat of an arc to your roof. That way it's not a flat roof sitting above you, and the water should run off along these sticks. Granted, I'd like to see a greater pitch, because like I said in my 5-point shelter, the greater the pitch, the greater the water shedding effect. However, I'm not really worried about rain, or I'm not really worried about my body heat melting the snow up here per se. I'm more worried about snow getting on me and then melting while I sleep. So, I'm going to leave that alone like that. Throw the pine boughs on top. Alright, this might seem counterintuitive, but I'm going to put my pine bough branches, the dead ones, like so. That way, they cover more area. Now, why dead branches? Because it gives you more loft, but also it kind of saves on having to put a lot more green pine boughs, which might stick through and catch on you. This stuff kind of helps prevent that. And also what this is going to do is help catch the fresh live pine boughs and keep them in place. Kind of like barbed wire, if you think about it. Alright, so now comes time we're going to start piling on our roofing insulation. You want to cover it up as much as possible, cover all the little gaps. Alright folks, so this is the snow trench you got. Roof does need some love. Get some more pine boughs for a door to help block out that cold wind. As you guys can see, very simple, very quick to build. Alright guys, so this is the shelter. Definitely long enough where I can have my feet inside. Again, I have to put a pine bough door on that to kind of keep the heat in. And have a little slant away from your feet, obviously. Definitely needs more insulation on the roof, I dare say, to be honest with you guys. Again, we want about 3 foot thickness on that to help trap heat in here, to have any insulated value. It's going to be about 3 foot thick of forest debris, or in this case, pine boughs. So, pretty comfortable. It does keep me on the wind, and would keep me out of the snow if it was snowing right now, but we're going to get out of here and talk about... Alright folks, so I had a blast building this with you today. So we're going to kind of go over exactly how this is supposed to be in an actual survival emergency situation, right? Because this wouldn't really suffice. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes only, and I'm not going to tear down my entire forest making these videos for you guys. No offense. But, so starting from the roof, right? We want that at least 3 foot thick minimum for insulative value, okay? 3 foot thick. The pitch is important in this situation where we have snow. The greatest threat is going to be your body heat building up inside of this, melting the snow, it drips on top of you. Then again, if we have that parabola effect, or say the A-framed roof like I was talking about, where you have a forked stick, regular stick, put in between and pinch another ridge pole in between, you can have an A-frame like structure above you. So again, steep is good. However, if you're trying to just heat this thing with your body heat, the lower the roof, the better. So you got to play with that, guys, and figure out what works best for you. Thus, why you should get out and train. Now, going down a little bit, okay? The walls. We want this, again, to be at least, I want to say, 6 inches above where your shoulder is. So the wind's going to go above you. It's going to be comfortable. You can actually roll over and whatnot. And trust me, you're going to toss and turn in this thing, because sleeping on pine boughs, it's more comfortable than the ground, but it's not like your bed. So keep that in mind. Now, all right, so next, guys, we're going to go down to the Mylar blanket here and the tarp, okay, the 2 tarp system here. So it's awesome in the fact that I can use the wet weather tarp as, you know, my main shelter in a given situation. And then I can turn around and have the Mylar be my bed. It could be my blanket. It could be whatever I want it to be in that situation. Okay, 2 is 1, 1 is none. Now, this situation, obviously, this is going to be my blanket. Again, 1/3, so you're laying down on top of that. Okay, so 1/3 is going to start reflecting your body heat back towards you, and then 2/3 you can wrap around you like a blanket. It's going to help reflect your body heat back towards you. Got to be careful, though, because you don't want to overheat yourself and wake up all wet with sweat, because, again, wet in this situation equals death. So you don't want that. So kind of be cautious, play with it, figure out what works best for you and whatnot. The wet weather tarp underneath, guys, again, that's going to protect us from moisture from the ground. We're laying on pine boughs. Our body is the equivalent of 100 watt bulb, so it's going to produce some heat in here, especially if we have a door on here. It's all sealed up, nice insulated. It's going to be decently warm in there. It could possibly melt the snow and ice underneath you, and if you don't have a tarp underneath you to kind of help block that water from touching you, it could get your coat wet, your sweatshirt, your snow pants, your boots, gloves, hat. It's going to be miserable. It's going to suck. Again, it could equal death. We don't want that. So again, 2 tarps in my mind is a must. Now, door structure, like I said, it's going to be pine boughs. It's going to be kind of angled out. That way it's going to, 1, protect your feet. It's going to help shed snow. And this shelter itself is going to be breathable because, again, it's pine boughs. It's not like airtight or anything like that. So we don't really have to worry about suffocation. But you might want to leave a more open area for ventilation, irregardless, to be safe. In case it does snow really heavily and it piles up on top of you, you don't want just it all being sealed. Now, there's the recap for you guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. As always, stay frosty, prep up. Yeah, bless.